The wind was howling at 40 below. Metal houses groaned, pipes cracked, electric heaters went silent one by one. But out there, in the white storm, a single tippy stood still, smoke rising straight through the blizzard. Inside, not fear, but laughter. No steel, no wires, no noise, only hide, wood, and wisdom old as winter itself. For centuries they faced the same cold that freezes engines today, and yet they stayed warm, alive, and calm. Tonight we'll uncover 10 ancient heating hacks from the people of the Tipis. Techniques so simple, so brilliant, they could save you when the next storm cuts the power. Because survival isn't about strength, it's about knowing how heat really works. The smoke hole, the heart of the tippy. A small opening at the very top, simple, ancient, and alive. When the blizzard screams, that hole decides everything. Too wide, the warmth escapes. Too tight, the smoke falls back, choking everyone inside. Long before engineers spoke of air pressure, the people of the plains had already mastered it with nothing but instinct and wind. They learned to read the storm. When the wind shifted north, they turned the flaps east. When it came from the west, they pulled them tight like sails, all with a wooden pole, 5 feet long. One movement, and the smoke rose again, straight as a prayer. Inside, the fire burned steady. No coughing, no ash, no panic. Just rhythm, the breath of fire and air dancing together. It wasn't technology, it was wisdom proven refined, still standing. Even centuries later, chimney engineers in Scandinavia rediscovered the same principle. But the Tipis had done it first, perfectly naturally. No metal, no motor, just wind and understanding. A tippy isn't just a shelter, it's an ancient HVAC system powered by the sky itself. Beneath the fire, there was another secret. Not wood, not stone, but clay mixed with ash from yesterday's burn. Archaeologists found it in the ruins of Mandan village, a thin layer barely 2 inches thick. Yet it changed everything. You see, when the ground froze at 40 below, the heat of the fire would sink straight into the earth, gone within minutes. And worse, the hides on the floor could catch fire or rot from the damp. But these people, they watched. They learned. They spread river clay under the hearth, smoothed it with ash so it wouldn't crack when dry. When fire touched it, it didn't burn. It reflected. 2 inches, 1 night to dry. Then they laid hot stones on top, and the floor stayed warm for hours after the flames had died. 4 hours, sometimes 6. Still warm, still alive. They didn't call it science. They called it living. The same principle would reappear centuries later in the ondal floors of Korea, in the clay stoves of the old Slavic North. Different worlds, same wisdom, a base of earth turned into a bank of heat. No metal, no bricks, no wires, just clay, ash, and a patience that could outlast the storm. They didn't build comfort, they built survival. When the wind cuts through the plains, heat doesn't just fade, it climbs. It rises up, leaving the people cold on the floor while the warmth hangs useless near the roof. But the buffalo gave them more than meat and hide. It gave them a way to trap the heat, right where life happened. They stretched a heavy buffalo skin across the tippy, about 3 feet above the ground, tied with sinew cords, a low ceiling, a barrier of breath. It looked simple, but it worked like a miracle. Warm air gathered beneath it, swirling, slow, dense, alive. Above it, cold drifted harmlessly away. Inside that small cocoon, families slept, close, their breath misting in the dim orange light. The difference, about 25% less heat lost overnight. Enough to mean the difference between shivering and sleeping. No aluminum, no fiberglass, just hide, thick, soft, proven by centuries. They didn't call it heat retention. They called it staying alive through the storm. Later, in another world, Japanese builders used a similar idea, the Norin curtain hanging low to trap warmth where people sat. Different continents, same instinct, to keep the warmth near the heart where it matters most. No metal, no electricity, just wisdom, still standing. Out on the plains, there were no walls, only hide wind and snow that never stopped falling. Most would think when snow piles up, you dig it away. But the people of the teepees did the opposite. They built with it. When the storm came, they didn't clear the edges. They packed the snow tight around the base about a foot high. Sometimes they used earth, sometimes ice, turning the very cold into a shield, because wind loves weakness. And the bottom of a teepee was the weakest place of all. A narrow draft slipping through there could steal half the warmth in minutes. But once banked, that air stopped. The fire burned steadier, the hides stopped trembling, and the warmth stayed inside. Still silent, safe. Tests today show what they already knew, that a packed snow wall can cut heat loss by nearly 30%. 30% no plastic, no metal, just patience. And pressure. They didn't call it earth berming. They called it surviving the night. And if you think about it, that's the same idea behind modern eco-houses and off-grid shelters today. Sometimes the best insulation is the very ground beneath your feet. Old wisdom. Still working, still warm. Every tippy had a fire, but not every fire knew how to stay. Half of its warmth lost upward straight into the night. The people saw it, they felt it, and they decided to turn the flame against its own waste. Behind the fire they raised a wall, wet wood or flat stones. A simple shield tilted 25 degrees shoulder high. Nothing fancy, nothing loud, just purpose. The flames hit it and came back. You could feel it. 10, maybe 15 degrees warmer on the sleeping side. That meant life. That meant less smoke, fewer tears, quieter nights. They built no chimneys, no ducts. They built balance between heat and air. Long before modern armies used reflector walls in canvas tents, these people had already perfected it. In silence. The science radiant return. The soul's survival. And even today, in Arctic camps or off-grid cabins, the same idea keeps families warm without a single watt of power. Old fire, old trick, still works. Not every warmth comes from flame. Some comes from what the fire leaves behind. The Cree and the Ojibwe knew this. After the fire burned birch logs, they saved the ash, pale, soft, light as breath. They spread it in a ring 1 inch thick around the base of the tippy, then covered it with dry moss. Nothing more, nothing less. When snow melted and froze again, the birch ash drank the moisture. When it dampened, it gave a whisper of heat, just enough to keep the floor dry. No ice, no rot, no smell of wet hide. The difference could be felt in the morning. Their boots didn't stick. Their furs stayed clean. Their nights stayed warm. They didn't know the word moisture buffer, but they built one from wisdom and patience. Modern labs would tell you birch ash has alkaline salts that absorb humidity. They just called it good ash. It's a small trick, but it kept their homes standing through storms that broke trees in half. And today, when your house walls sweat with cold, remember they solved that too with nothing but ash and understanding. No wires, no heaters, just wisdom. Still standing. Long before steel stoves or iron chimneys, the Assiniboine and the Blackfoot built their heaters from stone and patience. When the wind howled and wood was scarce, they shaped a ring of river rocks into a cone, wide at the base, narrow at the top, like a mountain in miniature. They built the fire inside it, let it burn for 2 hours, then scraped the coals away and waited. The stones glowed. They breathed heat, slow, steady. Silent. 8, sometimes 10 hours of warmth. No smoke, no tending, no loss. While other fires died in the wind, the stone cone kept its promise, a quiet heart of heat through the night. They didn't call it thermal storage, they just called it smart fire. Same principle you'll find today in Finnish sauna stones and the Mongolian gur hearth, both built on the same truth. Stone remembers heat. And when the night turns cruel, that memory keeps you alive. No steel, no flame, just stone and wisdom. Fire warms the body, but air keeps the soul alive. The Dakota and Cree learned that long before science gave it a name. They gathered reindeer moss, pale, soft, breathing life even after death. Under the hides, they spread it thick, 2, maybe 3 inches deep. It wasn't for warmth. It was for balance. When the air grew too dry, the moss released its hidden moisture. When the floor grew damp, it drew the wetness back in. A living rhythm, inhale, exhale in silence. The fire burned steadier, the air softened. Breathing felt easy again. No metal humidifiers, no wires humming in the dark. Just moss, still doing what it always did. They didn't call it climate control. They called it wisdom. Modern furnaces now use humidifier pads to do the same. But here, it was nature's own design. They built a microclimate under their feet, with nothing but patience and the kindness of the earth. Pause, long breath, warmth, wind, wisdom, still standing. In a blizzard, fire wasn't comfort. It was survival. Lose it, and the next sunrise never came. The Cree carried theirs inside bone. A hollow bison tube packed with dry moss and one glowing ember, both ends sealed with damp clay. 6 hours through snow, and when they opened it, the ember still breathed. No matches, no spark, just wisdom, sealed in bone. That red glow wasn't just heat. It was tomorrow carried through the storm. Simple, silent, still alive. Sometimes, survival comes down to a doorway. In the blizzard plains, one wrong pull and warmth vanished. The Dakota fought wind with layers, not force. 2 hides overlapped light outside, heavy inside. Between them, just a few inches of still air. That stillness was the secret, a natural lock against the storm, a quiet wall between life and frost. Inside stayed warm, 20% better. No metal, no seals, just air. Standing still. They didn't just build a door. They built a pause, a breath between chaos and calm, a thin space where the wind stopped and life continued. Old method, real result, still standing. Tipis were more than shelter. They were experiments in patience, wind, and heat. 10 lessons, half from nature, half from time. No metal, no power. Still worked. They proved warmth isn't built by machines, it's earned by understanding. Old methods, real results, still standing.